Would you like to unlock game-changing opportunities using the power of collaboration? Well, today we're here with Charmaine Hammond, best-selling author, speaker, and business owner of 28 years, who's helped businesses and nonprofits raise millions through sponsorships. So get ready to learn how to turn relationships into results and create impact. From Charmaine. Hi, Charmaine. So glad to have you.
Hi, great to be with you today.
And so glad to have you here. So you have this tremendous history and experience. So tell us a little bit more about your background and what you do.
Thank you. Well, I have two businesses, and Laura, you know about both of them. Most of the WSA community knows me through my company, Raise a Dream, which is where we help authors and speakers and coaches and people with a big mission bring that dream to life through the power of collaboration and sponsorship. So we teach people how to build these powerful relationships that can help you bring your dream projects, your events, your launches to life. The second business I have is Hammond International, a completely different audience and a completely different focus. That's the business that's celebrating 28 years this year. And in that business, I speak and train in corporations, large businesses, associations, and all three levels of government to help teams work better together. And the topics I speak on there are really circulating around team relationships, leadership, conflict resolution, and communication. So I get the pleasure of working in two entirely different worlds with different people, but the thread that weaves it all together is relationships.
Absolutely. And that brings me to you've been with Women's Speakers Association for a long time as well. And you've been part of our team here. So talk about your role and involvement.
Well, my role and involvement with WSA is a really, really important part of my business. It's a part of my social life. It's really community for me. I joined WSA as a member and then got more and more involved, got to know the team better, and then was published in one of the very, very early Voices of the 21st Century books, which was just amazing. And I have since been published in many others since that series came out. And that is where I really started to appreciate the power of community, of women coming together, speakers who were also authors, and really sharing business ideas and practices and strategies. I've had the opportunity to collaborate with a lot of WSA members, and then eventually became involved with the team related to the Voices of the 21st Century book. So I do some of the trainings, as you do, Laura, for the authors, and of course get a chance to meet all the authors and participate in some of the launch events. When I'm trying to think, I think it was 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now, one of the Voices of the 21st Century books that I was in, we actually had a number of authors from the same community. So we all came together and had a joint book signing and launch. And that's where I really got to see the power of taking the WSA community where I'm working online with people into the real life, into the in-person scenario.
Yeah, so many times when those collaborative books get together,
Yeah.
they don't go anywhere. But in this community, with your training in particular, you make it everlasting. You make your book as a business, right? You've even
Mm,
taught on that, how to make your book as a business, how to
yes.
sell more books, and how to bring authors together to support each other
Yes.
and get more sales. So you've done that in Canada. And by the way, on International Women's Day in Sydney, they're having the mayor of Sydney come in and do an event there with 9 of our authors who are from.
Wow.
Yes. And next week is our launch.
Yes.
So we will celebrate another best-selling book on February 4th. So come on back to our live streams then, everyone. But I want to come back to it because it all comes back to collaboration. Tell us why you're passionate about collaboration and how that really can unlock game-changing opportunities.
I'm so passionate about collaboration because in the early years of opening my business, and for all of you listening that can relate to this, there's a lot of learning, a lot of struggles, a lot of mistakes. And when I started to harness working collaboratively with other businesses, with colleagues, with people who at the time I had a mediation office, so doing conflict resolution with companies, and I saw the power of collaboration. My events started to fill up. The phone lines got busier. The referrals were coming in even more so than they were already. We were featured in more media. So I saw the incredible benefits, not only for us though, but also for the people that we collaborated with. And then fast forward when we opened up Raise a Dream, I wanted to take all that learning of collaboration over the many, many years and start to teach people how to do this. It saved me so much money because, of course, I had sponsors, I had collaboration partners. It saved me a lot of stress, and it brought all of my projects to fruition so much faster. And I would say, I'm just going to go as far to say easier. It was just a lot more easy and enjoyable rather than doing it all on my own.
Well, I would say that the game changing element of that is being stress free and
Yeah,
easy, having like a
yeah,
business that flows because you're using the power of collaboration.
totally. And we're not experts at everything. So that was a big mindset shift for me in the early days, is that I don't have to be the person who knows it all and does it all. I can bring in people into my team and into my projects who have the genius and the skills and the talent that I know nothing about and probably don't even want to or should not learn how to do those. And when I started embracing relationships like that, that took collaboration to even another higher level. And of course, better results.
So, how would you advise people to start bringing in more collaborative? What kind of things can they use the power of collaboration in?
Yeah, I love people to think about what is something that you're trying to bring to life. So maybe you're hosting an event. Maybe you have a book or maybe a new product launching. Maybe you've added a new topic to your speaking menu of topics. Where could collaboration help you get the message out? That's a great place to start. And then you look at, who do I already know? This is one of the mistakes a lot of people make, actually, when they're looking at collaboration. They go off and start researching all these people they could collaborate with. And my first 46 collaboration partners and sponsors were all people in my circle. They were people that I knew. I saw at business luncheons. I used their products, they used my products. So there was already a relationship, but there was already a trust. And so that allowed us to move things to fruition much quicker. And what happened then is that any of the projects that I started to pursue, because we had these collaboration partners on board from other projects, it was easier to get sponsors, collaboration partners, champions involved in whatever I was doing next. And so I always say to people, look close to home. Look at your own community. Your WSA community is a great place to start. You have relationships through that. How could you work together to do something that really matters to you, but to do that by engaging other people?
And I also know something about you that I've observed is you got to think outside the box.
Yeah,
So it's not just who can give me money, who can give me a space or something.
exactly.
What other things could people collaborate with?
I love that you've brought up thinking outside the box, because we tend to get really boxed in with our thinking. And I remember my very first printing sponsor was not a printing company. It was a friend of mine who had a safety company with a really great printer, copier, and a staff who had some extra time on our hands. And they did all of my printing for a couple of years as my printing sponsor. But see, when we don't think out of the box, we go, what printing companies are in my community? Where do I do my printing? And this was just literally, I was saying I had a bunch of things to get printed. And he said, well, how often do you have to do this? And I said, well, every time I do a presentation. He said, well, why don't we find a way to help you? So I would never in a million years have thought to ask him for his support, because my brain went to print shops. And then from there, it expanded. And then I moved into actually partnering with printing companies. But you have to be able to think outside the box, which challenges us when we have a relationship with someone, because we have to think about them differently. How could we work together differently? So this friend of mine, for example, who owned the safety company, I had to think of him not just as the person I had known for years, but the fact that his business had things that could support my projects. And I had an audience in the corporate world that needed safety training. So How do we promote each other? And it was just a great way to work together.
The resources within the resources.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
amazing. Yeah. So, is there any advice you'd like to impart about, that would really inspire people and have them take the next step to getting those game-changing opportunities?
Mm, that is such a great question. I would say so when you take Laura's tip about thinking outside the box, that's going to move you down the right direction around who do you know, who's close to home, where do you shop, where do you buy your products, who have you partnered with, or who have you witnessed partnering with other people, and you think, wow, I want to get in on something like that. That's a great place to start. What you then need to do is to really look at where would collaboration help your business, help your event, help your book launch, help your speaking tour. Where would it help you? One of the things that happens in collaboration is we see people where a sponsor or a collaboration partner might offer, we can provide you, I saw this recently, we can provide you with all kinds of snacks and goodies for your people. Well, the host wasn't going to be doing a swag bag. There was no budget for a swag bag. They weren't even allowed to hand out extra food, but they said, well, we can hand it out like outside the doors. And so there was no benefit for the event host. There was no swag bag. So it was going to feel weird just saying, here, have a bar. So they had to then create this way of handing food out outside the event. And it actually cost them money and cost them staff time. So it was sort of like that was an example of what somebody offered was not a benefit to the person exploring the collaboration. So you really need to know your project and what would benefit you, and then learn about the potential sponsor or the collaboration partner to learn what matters to them. What would matter to them? Because what you're trying to do is find that bridge that connects the two of you, that connects your brand, that connects you in a way that both of you come out of this collaboration having one of your needs met, having it support something that's important to you. So we really have to think that through. I see a lot of people get really excited about the collaboration and they yes, 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 yes to everything. And I always like time to sit and think it through. It's often the thinking it through that allows you to even explore, how could this even be better? How could this even be bigger for both of us?
And I think the key there is the win-win, right?
Yeah.
If it's not good for them, then they're not going to
Yeah.
say yes.
Right.
And you have certain criteria you want to meet as well. And it's being flexible, creative, compromising, and compelling, I would guess, because
Yeah,
you
for
need to
sure.
really have a good, compelling reason for them, understand their needs. Is that
Yes.
true?
Yes. And the other thing is that what holds all that together is that relationship. And that's why I always encourage people, start with people that you know, because the relationship is there. You can have those conversations where you're bantering ideas back and forth and saying, what if? How would that work for you? And they might say, oh, Charmaine, I don't know. That doesn't really work for me. But when you're in a new relationship, that's a little bit more of a challenging conversation. We get nervous about it, we're uncomfortable with it. So always start with people that you know, and what it does is it really builds your comfort collaborating, because collaboration can get messy. If we don't have collaboration agreements, if we make commitments to each other and then life happens and we end up letting down the project or the relationship. So we have to have those mechanisms, collaboration agreements or frameworks in place, so that at the end of that project, the relationship is intact. And if something goes a bit weird, a little sideways, the relationship is still maintained.
Very important. So,
Yes.
who seeks you out and why, and how do you help them?
Isn't that a great question? I would say at Raise a Dream, the majority of clients that we work with would fall into a couple of areas. Speakers who are also authors, some nonprofits and service clubs, and then people that have a big dream to get raised. And when I say big dream to get raised, that's all over the map. One of the clients we worked with wanted to do a traveling tour, a road show of their book and speaking. Another one was creating products to bring to life, to supplement or to support the speaking that she was doing in the books that she had. Another one wanted to create a deck of cards, of inspirational cards that would support her speaking so that she could give these out to people in her audience. Another one wanted to have a series of events that promoted their topics. So it really is all over the map. But I would say the three client groups are generally speakers, speakers that are also authors, nonprofits, and then people who are those change makers, difference makers who have a big mission to raise.
Love that. So tell us a little bit about like a success story, either yours or someone you helped.
Well, what I would say one of the stories that I love sharing about the work that I did and how I brought a big project to life and lots of learning, which our clients get to benefit from and not make some of the mistakes that we did. But I had this vision of taking my speaking and my books on the road over a 7-week tour. And I was really focused on kindness in both of my businesses. I was focused on the theme of kindness and collaboration. So that's what we created the tour about. It was called the Million Acts of Kindness. I actually got to see Laura when we toured through the US. And this was about 6-7 years ago now, or longer. 2016 it was, so almost 10 years ago. Wow. And it involved a number of collaborations. We had sponsors who actually in their stores had raised money to be able to support the tour. We had nonprofits involved. So in every community that we visited, we did some kind of a nonprofit project. It might be providing a speaking engagement. It might be doing a community activity with them. We had media opportunities in each of the stops. And we had a motorhome that was sponsored for us, all our technology. We had a sponsor who raised a significant amount of money and purchased $10,000 worth of our books so that we could actually hand those books out to schools and charities. We were focusing on my kids' books. So that was an example of a lot of relationships coming into play. We had event sponsors, we had sponsors of books, sponsors of speaking engagements, motorhome, technology, and the list goes on and on. What was really enjoyable about that project was that each of the sponsors and partners that came on, and many of them were new, that many of them were not people that I knew. So I was having to build the relationship, which takes time. But one of the big learnings for me, and what was special about this, was the excitement and passion that my collaboration partners had for what we were doing. And I remember one sponsor in the early days of having all these discovery calls. So I think we were on call number 9. And he said, you know, Charmaine, I don't know how our business is going to work with you as a sponsor. I just know we love the project. We love your passion, and we're going to work together in some way. And we did. And that's one of the things that I always encourage people not to lose. Don't get so business focused that your passion doesn't shine through, because at the end of the day, when someone is collaborating with your project or sponsoring your project, they're basically putting a stake in the ground saying, we support you, you know, that we are stepping out. You're the face of the project. So that was really a great learning for me. And, you know, a lot of relationships to manage though, with so many partners.
Well, it sounds like there was a big vision that you were able to create and everyone stepped into because
Yes.
they loved it. And what do you think it was that they loved about it?
I think I would say, based on what our collaboration partners and our sponsors told us, they loved it that there was different ways to get involved. So I was traveling with my husband, Chris, and our dog, Toby, who was the star of my kids' books and my first book that came out on Toby's terms. So they loved that there was this animal connection. And that was actually a draw to some of the sponsors that we brought in. And so we had a lot of pet-friendly hotels that we stayed at when we needed a break from the motorhome. And of course, they got involved because of the pet angle. But then we had a lot of schools and libraries that got involved, and they were interested in the project because it involved literacy, and that was their mission. And then we had women's organizations and women's groups that got involved, and they were interested in it because I was a woman speaker and trainer and author. And so I heard that from a lot of partners and sponsors that they liked the fact that there was different ways that they could come into the project. The other piece that people liked was there was a lot of media attention. So I worked really, really hard at getting media, and they liked being able to have their brand showcased in media. I would say the big check mark for all of them was the fact that it supported communities where their employees lived and worked. So we always did community events, and the businesses and the brands that were our sponsors appreciated the fact that the project supported the communities where their business operated and the employees lived and worked.
Wow. Oh my gosh, there's been so much gold in here. Thank you so much. And I love the work you're up to with both your speaking with corporate as well as the Raise a Dream sponsorships. And so many people can learn from you. How is the best way for people to contact you and learn more?
Well, I'm on social media on Raise a Dream. You can just go Raise a Dream and find us on our social platforms. Or, you know what, go on over to the website, raiseadream.com. There's a contact us button, and it will be me that follows up with you. So shoot us an email. And of course, you can find me through WSA because I kind of hang out there a lot.
Yeah, in fact, if you want to become an author, best-selling author, or a
Yes.
multiple-time best-selling author, we are taking applications for our 2026 book already at
Awesome.
voicesofthe21stcentury.com. So thank you, Charmaine. I can't wait for
Thank you,
people
Laura.
to connect with you, um, either through our Voices project or Raise a Dream, and also the corporate world. So have a great day, and we will see you for our book launch. And take
Yes.
care, everyone. Bye for now.